This video is going to be one of two in how to sit down and have a conversation with your teen about any anxiety they may be experiencing. This one is more of a precursor to that conversation, really. It's going to look at the environment and also your own response to stress and anxiety and the role that may be playing in how your teen is dealing with their anxiety. And it's worth looking at these things first. So in terms of the environment, first thing I would look at is their diet. Are they eating a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods? Do they drink a lot of caffeine, tea, coffee, energy drinks, chocolate? All of those things can cause a physiological response, almost like the jitters, can't it? You know what it's like if you have too much caffeine, you kind of... So possibly those things are affecting your teen and they are interpreting it as anxiety, because sometimes it's difficult to see the link between what you're eating and how you're feeling. It's also worth, and this is an unusual one, but having a look at their iron levels. Are they eating enough meat, or if they're a vegan vegetarian, are they getting enough iron in their diet? Because again, the way the body responds to a deficiency in diet can mimic the symptoms of anxiety. So definitely have a look at diet. Next thing to consider is their sleep. Are they getting enough sleep? Are they getting a good sleep? Because if they are not sleeping well or having enough of it, they might easily feel overwhelmed. So not feeling able to cope with things as much as they would if they were well rested. And linked to that is our old friend, mobile phones, social media. If you think about the effect of screens on a brain, every time there's a ping, a notification, ping, 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 the brain kind of goes into, oh, emergency, oh, I must respond. Every time there's a ping, every time there's a flashing light. And if you think about scrolling on Instagram, I guess TikTok, anything like that, it's quite bright and quite stimulating. And if your teen's been looking at their phones a lot, you can see how they might be in that kind of hyper alert state without recognizing that it's because they've spent hours on their phone. Because again, it's difficult to see the link between phones and behavior, and especially if it's something you enjoy doing, the last thing you're going to do is want to stop looking at your phone and recognize that it's actually causing you harm. The third thing in this area that is worth considering is exercise. So if your teen is spending all day sitting in lessons at school or college, and then coming home, looking at their phone, doing their homework, watching telly, what are they doing with their energy? How have they got rid of the testosterone surges? How have they got rid of the hormonal surges? How have they burnt off the frustration? How have they moved their bodies? And if they haven't, if they've kept that all inside, then again, it's quite understanding how they might feel a bit jitterish. So those are some things on the environment you can consider that might be having an impact on your teenager. The next thing to talk about is a little bit about you and your response to things that are concerning anxiety. How do you show worry? How do you cope with the world? Is your teen maybe mimicking your behavior? Now, this is not to blame you, this is not to criticize, it's just something worth considering. If you are over controlling, for example, if you are, because you worry about everything and try to make sure everything's okay for your teen, then perhaps the unconscious message they're getting is, it's a bad world, I need protecting. Or, I'm not capable of managing things on my own, therefore, how am I going to cope with whatever it is they're facing? So, over-controlling, are you someone who worries about things a lot? And do they see you worrying? Do they see you freaking out? Do you over-catastrophize? Do you panic? Do you think the worst all the time? Because if you are that way of thinking, if you have that way of thinking, that's what they are hearing, and that's going to be how they are looking at the world, through those eyes that they've been brought up with. Those are the glasses through which they see things. Another option is perhaps, are you someone who tries to protect your children by kind of downplaying anything serious or anything worrying? and acting like there's nothing going on. And again, that can be worrying because your teens know there's something going on. They can see there's something to be worried about, and why aren't you worried about it? And so perhaps then they feel like they have to worry about it for you because you're not doing the worrying. Things to consider: really not to blame, really not to criticize, just it can be really, really helpful to know where your teen has developed their anxiety, how they've developed it, how have they got this way of looking at the world, have your own anxieties rubbed off on them. And if you do some reflection, you think, actually, yeah, I can see myself in them, perhaps, this is something I should have done differently. It's actually a gift, because when you do sit down to talk to your young person, you can approach it in a way like, you know what, I can see you worrying about things the way that I do. And I'm really, really sorry that this has rubbed off on you. And I think it's something we should tackle together. And you and your team could take it on as a project. What strategies can we work through? What should we try to do to get better at coping with things that concern us in life? And it could be a way to bond with your teen rather than a thing to be worried about, or also to think, oh, well, that's just the way they're going to be. It's not the way they're going to be, and it's not the way you have to be. There are better ways to cope with the world in a more kind of relaxed and calm and happy way. So I hope this is helpful. The next video will look at how to actually sit down and have that conversation.